So here in week 5, we're devoting the week to practice on what we've been doing so far, and that means analyzing arguments. So what you'll see in the week 5 section of the course are just 4 separate editorials from the Washington Post, and there will be an assignment for each one. And what you'll need to do in the assignment is to lay out the reasoning, lay out the argument of each one of these editorials. And that means, first of all, to identify the overall conclusion, and then to lay out the supporting reasoning for that conclusion, laying out premises. If there are intermediate conclusions, that is, if the premises themselves are argued for, if evidence is given or reasons are given for believing the premises, and of course they qualify as intermediate conclusions or non-basic premises. You can do this in whatever way that you've sort of developed that you feel comfortable. Standard form is just putting the overall conclusion at the bottom with a horizontal line above it to signal that it's an inference, and then putting the premises above that horizontal line. If those premises are argued for, then you make another horizontal line, or you just sort of lay it out however you think is lays bare the logical structure of the argument, making clear what the overall conclusion is and what the reasoning is that supports that overall conclusion. I'm not going to be nitpicky about those things. It's fairly obvious if you sort of grasp what the argument is, if you lay it out. So for each one of these, you'll have to do that. Of an assignment, you'll have to do that. And then you write a short evaluation of your opinion of the soundness of the argument. Keep in mind that soundness means the truth of the premises, or the likely truth of the premises, and the validity of the reasoning. That would mean the validity both of the reasoning to the final conclusion or overall conclusion, and the validity of the reasoning, if there are any, to intermediate conclusions. So you're weighing in on both those things. That is, in your analysis or your evaluation of soundness, you're asking about the strength of the premises in terms of their likelihood to be true. And you are weighing in then on the reasoning, on the validity of the reasoning, on whether the conclusions of the argument actually follow from their premises, and basically making a judgment call as to whether you believe the argument is a good one, whether you believe the argument is sound. You don't have to go into an extensive analysis, but you do need to write something which shows that you have the capacity to think about these things and make judgments about these things. A paragraph or so would probably be sufficient. So do every one of those. It'll be an assignment for each one of these editorials. In the so-called correct answer feedback, I will put my own analysis and evaluation for you to compare. It may be that yours differs from mine in insignificant and significant ways. That does not mean that your analysis necessarily is wrong, because it is a matter of judgment. And it could be that your insight into both the structure of the argument and your evaluation is simply better than mine. I mean, that happens, believe me. But I do want to give you some kind of standard to compare it by. And, if you're really on the wrong track in terms of your ability to analyze and evaluate arguments at this point, then, we need to communicate, because that's something that's kind of the whole, to this point at least, the whole point. So don't panic if you're not getting it at this point. We'll just need to do more work. So that's what it is for this week, just to practice in doing what we've been developing so far. We're looking at these 4 arguments, analyzing them, and then we'll move on.